two recently released movies with Benedict Cumberbatch at the helm we're going to talk about, and one of them is getting serious Oscar buzz. Let's talk about The Power of the Dog and The Electrical Life of Louis Wain. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free reviews for two new Benedict Cumberbatch films as we gear into Oscar season here. I'm going to be doing more of these sort of double and triple movie reviews in one video because I'm still catching up on some of the earlier movies from the year. And if there's a common theme here in two recently released movies, well, then there we go. We're going to tackle both in the same video. And that is the case here. Benedict Cumberbatch starring in two brand new streaming movies. The Electrical Life of Louis Wain is on Amazon Prime. And then Netflix has The Power of the Dog. Before we get into these films, I do want to welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. Thank you for finding my channel. If you like what you're seeing, please consider subscribing down below there. Would love to have you aboard. And even maybe click that notification bell so you can get all my new TV and movie reviews. So let's launch into these. I think the one we're going to talk about first is The Power of the Dog. That's got major Oscar buzz on it. It was released more recently than the other one. They've both come out in the last month or so, but this one came out basically last week. And it is going to be up for, I think, many, many awards. I follow a few different sort of Oscar prediction sites, and they have this movie for Best Picture very high up on the ranking. Everybody has Benedict Cumberbatch very high up for Best Actor, but there could be some supporting actor nominations as well coming out of this, or actress even, with Kirsten Dunst definitely in the mix here. This stars Cumberbatch, but also Kirsten Dunst, Jesse Plemons, and Cody Smith-McPhee. I think, Cody Smith-McPhee has a lot of heat on him for this role. You may recognize him from the more recent X-Men films. He plays Nightcrawler. And then Jesse Plemons, of course, has been in so many things, Friday Night Lights and Fargo. And he is married. I don't know if they're married, but they're certainly together, him and Kirsten Dunst. And so he actually joined the cast when Paul Dano had to drop out for other commitments for the Batman. But in any event, there could be some serious contention there. And then Best Director, Jane Campion, is really, really being talked about for Best Director, too. So this one could be very, very noticeable at this year's Oscars. So we'll definitely tackle that one first. And what is it about? Well, Phil Burbank is the lead character here. That's played by Benedict Cumberbatch. He is this very charismatic but feared rancher. This takes place in the 1920s. Both of these actually period pieces, to be honest. But he inspires fear into everybody around him. And his brother, played by Jesse Plemons, brings home a new wife, played by Kirsten Dunst. And then she has a son in tow as well, who is a bit, off the beaten path. Certainly for the 20s, he is a bit effeminate. He is a bit fey, and, gets called some gay slurs for sure by some of the men on the ranch. But Phil basically, torments them until he realizes he may have a bond with one of them that he did not realize. So that's the basic plot. I actually have never seen a Jane Campion film. The Piano came out when I was in middle school or high school, and I just seemed kind of boring. I didn't watch all the Oscar movies, as I do now. That only happened probably about 12 or 13 years ago when I started working at Hollywood Video, and then at a movie theater. I really would follow along. But other than that, I'd watch the ones I wanted to watch, Jerry Maguire, Titanic, but things like The Piano, I never would have watched that as a kid. And she really hasn't made that many other movies. So this is the first one I've actually seen. But the one thing I do know about her is that she is very, very, specific with her shots and her cinematography, and she has a very specific sort of look to her films that is a little bit slow moving. My parents did see The Piano when I was a kid, and they were unimpressed. They thought it was kind of boring. And this movie, I think, could also be taken that way. I didn't personally get bored by it. but I can absolutely see how one could be. It is very sort of slow moving, deliberate, and all of that sort of thing. And look, the Academy loves that kind of stuff. I think Chloe Zhao's Nomadland last year was in kind of a similar boat. A bit meandering at times. I think you could maybe get a little bit bored with it through the lens there. And many people I spoke to did, but I also know a lot of people that loved it. So the Academy loves these kind of movies. So for sure, I agree that this is probably going to be up for a lot of Oscars. And they love Cumberbatch. He's been up before. And they certainly love Jane Campion. Uh, did she win for the piano? I think she won screenplay for the piano. But she definitely didn't win director because the first female director was Catherine Bigelow for The Hurt Locker. But she was nominated. She was, I think, only the second woman ever nominated for Best Director at the Oscars. So, look, she's a big deal. We know this. But this movie, in its themes, certainly harkens back to some other Oscar pictures, even. Brokeback Mountain is certainly on the table there. But I do think that the themes here of sort of toxic masculinity and being what did it mean back in the 1920s to be masculine. You sort of had to sort of literally and figuratively sort of crack the whip and make people just fear your guts. And Cumberbatch pulls that off very well here. I would not say it's his best performance. I do think that's still probably Imitation Game. I thought he was so good in that. But it is interesting that he sort of keeps getting drawn into these characters that are sort of like the Imitation Game in certain ways. And I think I've been sort of spoilery enough in this review, so I'm not going to go into any more detail than that, but there's certainly some elements of his Imitation Game character here. So if you saw that movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. And I think he handles it very well. I think Kirsten Dunst is very good here. Jesse Plemons is okay, but I do think his character is wildly underwritten and sort of halfway through the movie exits for like 40 minutes. So that might be an issue. Jane Campion did write the movie as well, and I think the script maybe could have used a little bit more attention to the characters themselves. So overall, I do think this is going to be up for a lot of Oscars, but is it, on my top list of the year? It is not. But it is gorgeous to look at, for sure. There's a lot of good performances here. I'm going to leave The Power of the Dog with a B+. If people are going to say, oh, it's going to be up for Best Picture, yeah, I can see why, because the Academy does love this kind of stuff. But for me personally, this is not going to probably ever be rewatched. And I really, if it wins Best Picture, I would be shocked. I think some of the ones I've seen already, Dune, King Richard, even, the Life of Tammy Faye, I think are all better than this. But from a filmmaker's perspective, yes, it's certainly got, all the Jane Campion, typical things there. All right, so next we're going to talk about The Electrical Life of Louis Wain. This is also a period piece. This one takes place over the course of many, many years, actually, over probably 40 or 50 years total. But Cumberbatch plays Louis Wain, who is this famous painter. At the end of the 19th century, he started painting these cat paintings that were like kind of psychedelic and may or may not, maybe taken note from his own descent into madness and sort of threw that on the canvas. So the cat pictures sort of get wilder and wilder as his mind starts to, become less good, let's say. I'm trying to think of the word, but he may have had schizophrenia. Like there's sort of debate on what exactly was wrong mentally with him by the end there, but that certainly is one theory, is the schizophrenia. But anyway, as we meet this character in the beginning of the movie, he tries to look after his 5 sisters, and realizes that it's a bit tough. He's looking after his mother and his 5 sisters after the loss of their dad. And he, is a bit out of his depth here, out of his element. So He ends up getting this job at the Illustrated London News. He's very quick with his artistry, and they like that about him. So he can do a bunch of quick drawings for the magazine and newspaper. But Emily Richardson, who is played here by the wonderful Claire Foy, is sort of the nanny for these kids, and he falls for her, and they start a relationship with that. And soon they take in a stray kitten named Peter, and this sort of opens up all of these doors for them. Something I didn't realize that this movie filled me in on is that cats were not really domesticated pets back then. It was weird. It was frowned upon. It was like, dude, what's wrong with you? Taking in a cat? I have 2 cats myself. I love a good cat. So it's hard to believe now, but yeah, back then, 140 years ago, whatever this is, yeah, taking in a cat was seen as really bizarre, and kind of what's wrong with you. So as he starts painting these cats, and he's really sort of making them more palatable for people. Saying, oh, look, these cats are beautiful creatures, they're cute animals. So look, it's a cat lover. Right away, I'm like in on this movie. However, this one I certainly had problems with as well. Once again, not Cumberbatch's best performance. He's good here, and actually, he goes over that span of like the 60 years. Once his mind starts deteriorating, we see him, going through that, and then, towards the end of the movie, he's in a home, and he's got to be probably 80 or something in that. So the makeup here on him is great, and his acting as we move along and as his mind is deteriorating is I think it's well done, like Cumberbatch usually does. Claire Foy is great as well as the wife here, but I really wish they actually spent more time explaining to us why this person, Louis Wain, was important. Why, why was he so special? It reminded me a lot actually of the movie Big Eyes with Christoph Waltz, and I want to say Amy Adams, maybe. I actually might have it on my shelf here. It doesn't really matter, but I do. Was it Amy Adams was the woman? It is. Okay. And Tim Burton directed that, and it was about sort of something similar. A man created, well, in Big Eyes case, it was the woman that was creating the art, but he was passed off as the man. But anyway, somebody was creating art that was new and inventive, and nobody had seen anything like it before. And it was, sort of a movie about their process, but it was also about their relationship. And here, I think they could have split that difference a little bit better. I think they didn't really focus enough on the actual cat paintings and what made them so interesting. We sort of see a bunch of them over the credits at the end, and I was like really loving it. And we didn't really get to see that much during the film. And then the whole electrical part, the electrical life of Louis Wain. So he felt that everybody was sort of kinetic with this energy, and he had these theories about electricity, and we spend like 2 scenes on them. Like we really don't delve into that topic very much, and that's sort of the name of the movie. So overall, this is an enjoyable movie, and I would say of the 2, I maybe enjoyed watching this one better. But certainly, The Power of the Dog is much, much better done. I think that is very obvious. This one, I don't think is going to be up for any awards, really. Maybe Best Makeup, because like I said, they really did put him through the ringer, over the years and over the decades as the character gets older. But other than that, I can't really see any other awards this would be up for. It was directed, by the way, I've been talking about all the directors here. Let me see here. The Electrical Life of Louis Wain, directed by, Will Sharp. Okay, so I don't know too much about him, but I feel like I've heard that name. He has directed, let's see, anything I've seen? No. Okay. He's not done anything I've seen. So, and some of them have been TV series, although he did direct an episode of Sherlock, so that sort of makes sense with the Cumberbatch connection. And I don't necessarily blame him. I think it's more probably of a script issue, that they just didn't focus enough on the aspects of Wain's life that sets him apart and made him a little more interesting. And popping off the screen. So I will leave The Electrical Life of Louis Wain with a C+. plus. A bit of a middling affair, but I think still probably worth watching. So there you go. The Cumberbatch reviews are in. I've seen, by the way, the other movie he did, The Courier. I saw that in theaters way back when, probably in February, and I did a standalone review about that I will link at the bottom if you are a Cumberbatch fan and want to know my thoughts on that. I believe it was in like the B range, maybe B minus. But yeah, that was pretty interesting too. So he's had quite the year, and he was in The Mauritanian as well, which sort of counted for last year, even though it was released in February of this year. It counted for last year because of the Oscar and Golden Globe nominations. But that was a really good movie. I think of the four, that was my favorite. I forget what grade I gave it, but it was probably in that B plus or B type of range. But from a filmmaking perspective of the four, Power of the Dog is probably the best. But The Mauritanian was my favorite of the four Cumberbatch in 2021. So, all right, well, that will do it. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see everybody next time. Bye.